Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News today, 26th day of February 2026, equivalent Islamic calendar 9th of Ramadan, 1447 after Hijrah. In the headlines, President Tinubu decorates acting Inspector General of Police and advocates state police. Troops of Operation Hatton-Kai kill scores of terrorists in Northeast. On the international scene, United Nations sanctions Sudan's paramilitary leaders over atrocities committed in Al Fashar. And on sport and scene, the Tigers unveils FIBA World Cup qualifying provisional squad Falcons open camp. These and more news will be coming to you in the bulletin. I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has decorated Tunji Dishu with his new rank as the Acting Inspector General of Police in Abuja. The ceremony, which took place at the President's office, had in attendance the National Security Advisor, Duhurib Adu, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Bajabiamila, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Georgia Kume, and the immediate past police boss, Kaidi Betakun. This disappointment came just 48 days before his scheduled retirement on April 13th, 2026, when he would have reached the mandatory retirement age of 60 years. However, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Tunji Dishu, has assumed duty on Wednesday following his decoration by President Bola Tinubu. In other development, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu called on the leadership of the 10th Senate to amend the Constitution to provide for state police, noting that the establishment of the state police had become urgent to address evolving security challenges nationwide. The government has disbursed over 98 billion naira to strengthen primary healthcare delivery across Nigeria. President Tinubu made this known at the All Progressives Congress National Meeting, a roundtable 1.0 held in Abuja. President Tinubu, who was represented by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Georgia Kume, said the funds were released through the Basic Health Care Provision Fund to support operational expenses in more than 8,300 primary healthcare centers nationwide. According to him, 2,565 primary health care centers had been upgraded, while 1,456 were undergoing rehabilitation, adding that health insurance coverage had been expanded to over 10 million vulnerable individuals. He also said that the upgraded facilities now operated round the clock with trained health workers, essential medicines, medical equipment, and stable power and water supply. The federal government says no reform can succeed in Nigeria without clear, consistent, and strategic communication to the public, noting that poorly explained policies often breed resistance. Minister of Information Muhammad Idris made this assertion during a courtesy visit by the Director General of the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Dasuki Ibrahim Arabi, and his management team in Abuja. He also reaffirmed the federal government's resolve to not only implement reforms but also ensure Nigerians fully understand their purpose and benefits. Idris commended the Bureau for sustaining institutional reforms across the public service, describing reform as indispensable to national development. The minister, while highlighting digitization as one of the most transformative changes in recent years, said the overhaul of Nigeria's public financial management system has ended the era of paper-based transactions, black leakages, and strengthened transparency. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has charged resident electoral commissioners regs to intensify voter education and sensitization for citizens to understand their electoral processes. Chairman of the Commission, Josh Mopitan, gave the directives at a meeting with regs in Abuja held on the heels of the just concluded Federal Capital Territory FCT Area Council election and by-elections in Kano and Rivers states, as well as the swearing-in of the new reg representing Abia State, Chukwuemeka Joseph. The INEC chairman, while acknowledging modest improvements in voter turnout in the FCT poll, decried that voter apathy remained a major concern. He stressed that every election offers lessons ahead of future contests, including the forthcoming governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun State and the 2027 general election. So on the news, the federal government is strengthening policy and regulatory frameworks in the solid mineral sector to attract global investment and improve Nigeria's competitiveness in mining. The Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, Farouk Yabo, disclosed this at a stockholders meeting workshop at assessing Nigeria's compliance with the African Mineral Governance Framework in Abuja. He also explained that the engagement served as an integration platform for Nigeria as it sought stronger participation in continental and global mining ecosystems. Also, the head of the African Mineral Development Center, Tunde Arisekola, said the assessment formed part of technical services provided by the African Union to evaluate member states' compliance with agreed continental mining development pillars. The State House of Assembly Committee on Appropriation, Implementation, Local Government and Rural Development has commenced the budget screening exercises for the 23 local government areas councils in the state. The budget defense exercise headed by the Chairman House Committee on Appropriation, Yunusa Shehu, held at members' common room at State House of Assembly complex in Kaduna. All the local government councils were expected to defend the appropriate sum of 152.12 billion naira for the 2026 fiscal year. The first day for the budget defense exercise was attended by local government councils to include Soba, Kachia, Zangon Kataf, Kajuru, Sabangari, Chikun Jama'a, and Jaba local government area of the states. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television. So to come in the news, troops of Operation Hadunkai kill scores of terrorists in Northeast. On the international scene, United Nations Security Council sanctions Sudan's paramilitary leaders over atrocities committed in Al-Fashar. And on sports update, the Tigers unveil FIBA World Cup qualifying provisional squad Falcons open camp. Stand by for this and many more news to come. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Troops of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadunkai have killed 8 members of Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists in Borno State. It was gathered that the incident took place when troops of Sector 1 Operation Desert Sanity 5, in conjunction with some members of Civilian Joint Task Force CJTF, conducted an offensive operation at Shehuri community of Kodunga local government area of Borno State. According to his source, troops intercepted and engaged the terrorists, who were overwhelmed by firepower from troops, leading to the killing 8, while others fled with gunshot wounds. It also said there were no casualties recorded from that side of troops of the civilian JTF, even as some arms and ammunition were recovered from the terrorists. However, it was observed that the general security situation remains calm but unpredictable, as troops' morale and fighting efficiency remain satisfactory in the general area of responsibility. An improvised explosive device exploded on Wednesday along the Gusau-Funtua highway in Zamfara State, damaging a trailer conveying cement at Ongwar Maitida. The Zamfara State Commissioner of Police, Ibrahim Balarabi Maikaba, who confirmed the incident, said the device is suspected to have been planted by bandits who have been under pressure from ongoing security operations in the area. The blast destroyed the head of the truck traveling from Sokoto to Kaduna, but no casualties were recorded. The driver, Dauda Adamu, was rescued alive. The police commissioner said combined tactical teams, particularly explosive or the ordnance disposal unit, detected and detonated multiple EIDs along the Kuteri and Jibga Keita exists. Despite coming under attack, he also added that joint security operations would continue alongside additional tactical measures to ensure the full restoration of normalcy in the area. So on the news, some Islamic clerics have kicked against the United States Congress Committee's recommendation, which among others demanded the abolition of Sharia codes and anti-blasphemy laws in Nigeria. Recommendations emerging from engagement within the United States Congress contained in a joint report on Christian persecution in Nigeria submitted to the White House by the House Foreign Affairs Committee and the House Appropriations Committee. Concerning security development in Nigeria, included disarmament of the Fulani herdsmen and blocking export of beef and other cattle-related products to countries like Ivory Coast, Ghana, South Africa, and Senegal. The committee had claimed in report that after decades of persecution, Nigeria is the deadliest place in the world to be a Christian, stressing that Christians are subject to ongoing violent attacks from armed Fulani militias and terrorist groups, resulting in the death and murder of Christians, including pastors and priests, the destruction of churches and schools, as well as kidnappings. Nigeria's average retail price for petrol drops to 1,034 naira in January 2026, continuing a downward trend that has seen consumers pay less for petrol both year-on-year and month-on-month. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) in a report said the January 2026 price presents a 17.77% drop year-on-year from the 1,258 naira recorded in the same month of 2025. Month-on-month, the average retail price also fell by 1.32% compared to the 1,048 naira recorded in December 2025. Cell-level analysis highlights wide variations, with Cross River State recording the highest average retail price at 1,171 naira, followed closely by Rivers and Nasarawa State at 1,160 naira and 1,149 naira. On the other hand, Ekiti, Enugu, and Kaduna states registered the lowest prices at 946 and 947 naira. The report states the average retail price paid by consumers for premium motor spirit for January 2026 was 1,034 naira, indicating a 17.77% decrease compared to the value recorded in January 2025. Moving to the foreign scene, the United Nations Security Council has imposed new sanctions on 4 leaders of Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces over atrocities committed in the western Sudanese city of El Fasher. The Deputy Commander Abdurrahim Hamdan Dagalo and Brigadier General of Fatih Abdullah Idris, called Abu Lulu, who became known as the Bota of El Fasher, are among those proscribed. The Rapid Support Forces capture of the city in October was one of the most brutal chapters of Sudan's nearly 3-year civil war. Last week, a UN fact-finding mission concluded that the violence took over before the hallmarks of a genocide. Finally, to the sport on scene, Nigeria's Tigers have announced a provisional squad ahead of the FIBA Women's Basketball Cup qualifying tournament set to take place from 11 to 17 March 2026 in Lyon, France. Head coach Reina Wakama has selected seasoned talent at the 7-time African champions prepares for first France, Germany, South Korea, Colombia, and the Philippines in the qualifying event. Finally, on the news, the top stories again. President Tinubu decorates acting Inspector General of Police and advocates said police. Troops of Operation Hatunkai kill scores of terrorists in Northeast. On the international scene, United Nations sanctions Sudan's paramilitary leaders over atrocities committed in El Fasher. And on sport and scene, the Tigers unveils FIBA World Cup qualifying provisional squad, Falcons open camp. That was Standard Voice Television Global News. Our next bulletin comes up later. On behalf of the news editor, Ilya Adamu Auta, and the production crew, I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. Thank you for investing your time and staying with the news. Ramadan Mubarak.